Alright, as you can see, this battery terminal end is very loose. Very loose. And the positive, it just comes all the way off. It's not even tight. So it came completely off of the battery. But as you can see, that negative side, it's loose inside of its connector. That's called a battery cable end. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Someone had a lot of black tape wrapped around there. Oh, and look at that. The battery cable end just came all the way out. Now I have to, get a half-inch. Well, probably this is a 10mm wrench to get that loose from the battery itself. Yes, I'm unwrapping the rest of that electrical tape. I believe people do that just to make it harder for people like me. Yeah, now I would advise you to use gloves when you do what I'm doing right there. I'm just scraping over it with my fingertips to knock all of the corrosion out, and then I'm going to twist it to get it all together again. These are new battery cable ends. They're about $6 at AutoZone. I like to get the red and the black for, just I like it. I don't have that on my own vehicle because I know what's what, but, other people's vehicle, I like to use the red and the black so they can know the colors. Some companies will tell you don't use the coated ones because it makes a bad connection when boosting off. That's not always true. But anyway, also, let me tell you this here. This plate that holds the wires in place, I like to always take that completely off, and 7/16 bolts are holding it in with nuts on the back side. Make sure to keep your fingers on the other side to hold the nut in because it'll fall out. Then you take it and you flip it around. See how I flipped it around? That way the indentations are pointing towards the wire and not on the outside. Then you put your bolts back in. Don't tighten them all the way down, but just kind of, get them started. That way you can have room to put the wire in. See, I'm trying to show you room. Okay. Now we got one wire going, and I usually do the big one first. There, that went in pretty good there. Now the little wire. Yeah, it's not going in that good, so I'm going to have to twist it just a little bit. I would advise you to do this with gloves if you're not used to doing this. I do this all the time, so my hands are kind of already roughened up and built for this. Okay, now we have the little wire in after we get the big wire in. Now use your 7/16 to tighten it down. Don't over tighten it, just snug it up real good. There we have a good connection, a nice, beautiful battery cable in. Now to the positive side. Oh, and this brush, now I like to use a wire brush like this because it really gets down deep. But if you're going to use this, use some type of a mask to put on because you don't want to breathe that stuff in. You don't want to breathe it in. It's just horrible. Not even for people who are used to it. You just should take precautions. But it really gets the job done. Now this is a battery terminal cleaner and a battery cable end cleaner. You take the top off and you can clean the inside of the battery cable ends. See that? I'm just doing it just to show you. They're brand new, but you can, push it in further and get the ends cleaned. Put the top back on and you can clean the battery post. Now, the battery post for the positive side is always going to be bigger than the negative side on most batteries. And if I'm not mistaken, it's probably all car batteries, boat batteries, truck batteries. The positive is always going to be bigger. Now I'm stripping back this insulation from the red so I can get it into its proper battery cable end. Now let's disconnect this other one. There we go. That's over and done with now. Now we need to strip this insulation off. I'm going to use a couple of things to do this just to show you when you're in a tight and don't have the right type of tools that you need. I start off with a wood chisel. They're very sharp, and this is a wood chisel. Use the chisel wood, but I use it for a whole lot of things, and this time I'm using it for, to scrape off the insulation from the battery cable end so I can start to get the wire so we can use it to our advantage here. Never ever use pressure where it's towards your fingers or anything, because if it cuts you, it can be very bad for you. We don't want to be dangerous here. Always cut away from you. Now I'm using I guess you can call them wire cutters. They're like miniature Carter key pliers, but they're pretty sharp. Cutting off the rest of that insulation that we peeled back. Well, that I peeled back. Well, we're doing this together. I hope you're learning from this. Now, we have wire. Now, I'm going to use a basic kitchen knife to scrape off from the other wire, just to show you. I mean, you can use some of anything. You never know what you have when you're in a tight. You can even use a pair of scissors or a razor blade or something. Just have to be very careful and always cut away from you. Always cut away from yourself. Never cut into yourself where you can slip and cut your hand or anything. Fingers or even wrist. Now I'm twisting the wire to try to get it to a point at the end so I can put it in its proper place. And you can see the plus sign there on the battery. Now the same thing we did with the other battery terminal. We're going to take loose the 7/16 bolts out and flip that plate around. And if you see right there, the little nut that's on the other side, it fell out. So you want to always try to keep your finger on the other side so it doesn't fall out. I'm trying to get that nut in there. There we have it. Look at that. Nice, tight battery cable ends. Good connections. Oh. Looks like I dropped the nut down there. And that nut was from where you tighten it onto the battery, the actual battery terminal. A friend of mine passing by blowing a horn. And there you see I got a magnet. I was able to get to it. Sometimes it can drop down there. You never find it. Sometimes it never hits the ground. But this time it happened to fell on the lower control arm, and so I was able to get it. There we have it. That came off of the negative side. Now, let's get this thing connected. Going with the hot first. Just pry that open just a little bit so it'll go all the way down, as you can see. All right, and I suggest that you should always tighten up the positive first. Because you never want to tighten up the positive second, because if that long wrench happens to hit something on the car that's metal, which I'll show you in my other video, it can be dangerous. I don't show you what happens, but I just, I discuss it a little bit deeper. Now we got the positive nice and tight. Now I'm going to get this old end off of the negative side of the battery. It's a good thing this wasn't as bad as most cars. I mean, some cars I've seen in ridiculous shape. You have to basically cut that nut off, or get some grip pliers and strip the outside of it and all that kind of stuff, and it just terrible. But this was pretty easy. Now I'm going to use the brush again, then the battery terminal cleaner. But I always like to go back with that brush and just brush it up real good and make sure that there's a good connection. Because there was a little bit of corrosion on this battery terminal end. Wish I could have got some. I'm sorry I didn't get some pictures to take up closer shots for you. Now I'm going to tighten this up. And this is the negative. So if that wrench happens to hit another piece of metal in the car, you don't have to worry about any danger. And we should be good to go. Just gonna snug them down, make sure they got them snugged down pretty good. The 7/16 onto the wire with that plate that we flipped around. Yeah, I love it. Look at that, all nice and tight. I love doing this, and I love showing you.
Only at 1Latham.com, baby.
Well, there you have it. All right, see you next time. Hallelujah.